right, here we go.
All right, thank you so much for coming tonight. This has been super easy for me. I remember I'm thinking back to last year and I had just about zero help getting set up. And Mr. Clark, he's fantastic with audio stuff and it was super easy. Ms. Panariso is super fantastic in taking care of our guests and inviting them. This has been really nice. I'm super impressed with Jazz 1 and Jazz 2. You guys should be really pleased with how your performance went tonight. It sounded fantastic. The group here is our top jazz band. Auditions will happen for next year. It's kind of crazy to talk about that in November, but they'll get their music probably in the next 4 weeks. And then in January is when we have to place students into the groups for next year. So when your students get the music, the pretty much what weeds out students from top, middle, lower is how much they practice. So practice is the name of the game. If you hear someone really good at their instrument, it's because they spent a lot of time with it. If you haven't heard your student play a lot this year, then you need to ask them what's going on because they should be practicing on a daily basis. And I've never had, and this is my speech that I give to all my students, I've never had someone come back and tell me, Mr. Daines, I wish I didn't play my instrument so good. They always come back with regret. Like, I should have practiced more. I'm like, I know, I tried to tell you. And no one ever finishes practicing and is like, oh, I wish I didn't do that. Now, they might have got frustrated during it, and maybe your student has at times, and it happens. But in the end, they're pleased that they did it. They know they're getting better. And so please encourage them to practice. That's what it comes down to. And when students can play well, and it's not so much energy and effort, it's more free, then they like playing more. And it's kind of like a circle they get caught in. They're like, hey, this is fun, I like this. And then they keep getting better and they keep playing. So that's my spiel about practicing and all that fun stuff. So we've got 4 tunes we want to play for you tonight. Unfortunately, one of our drummers injured his hand, so he's not here tonight, so Aiden's filling in for him on his song. So here is an interesting rendition of Freebird, Leonard Skinner. So we will have Brock giving us a good, well, not 5-minute long solo, but a good guitar solo in this. So here is Leonard Skinner's Freebird. Oh, we are going a little bit out of order than in the program. That's my apologies. Okay. All right, temperature always loves to mess with string instruments. So going from portable to in here, and it's a lot of fun. All right, our next tune is entitled Awkward Elevator Ride. This one's written by a local Las Vegas LVA alumni. His name is Nate Kimball, sorry. And this is a bossa nova, so this is a Latin tune. Bossa nova originates in Brazil, first time students hear it, they're like, oh, elevator music. That's kind of, I think, probably the name. But you'll see we're switching around. We have people who do many different hats in our groups. So Sonia was on piano, now she's on drums. People doing drums, switching around on different instruments to vibes and such. And Eve playing trombone, and now she's playing piano. So we have all these students who are doing multiple things, which is a lot of fun and good for their experience. So here is Awkward Elevator Ride. Okay, our next selection is Hurricane Season, and this one is also arranged by a local Las Vegas. His name's Michael Spicer, and he worked here at Thurman White for a couple years, and he arranged this tune. It's a trombone shorty tune, which if you've never heard of trombone shorty, I highly recommend you look him up. His music is fun and to listen to. He's from New Orleans, and so there's a little bit of that feel to it, as well as like hip hop type feel stuff. He plays trumpet and trombone on all of his tracks. So it's a lot of fun to listen to. Let's see. We will have, I think Brianna on sax will have a solo. We'll have Angel, we'll have Jermaine, and we'll have Shane. So those are our 4 solos. So here's Hurricane Season. Okay, our final selection is entitled Blues for Will. This is my high school band director's tune that he wrote for us. When I first got here, there was no jazz band, and I said we had no music. And so I wrote and was like, hey, can you write us a chart? Because we had played his music in my jazz band in high school. And so this is what he sent. So it's called Blues for Will. And this is the only song that I play every year. So it's kind of our anthem, I guess. I don't know. Let's see, we're going to have a bunch of solos on this. All of these solos here are going to be what we call improvised. So they're making them up kind of on the spot. Now, just like talking is a lot like improvisation that they do on their instruments. So the better they are at their instrument, the better they can improvise. Just like someone who has a higher vocabulary or reads more can maybe say more complex things or say something in a more meaningful way than just kind of vanilla or something. So we want them to get really good at their instruments so when they improvise, they can share what's inside of them and it's easier for them. So we work on some stuff. We generally start with the blues scale, which is what they're going to focus on today, and sharing who they are through their instrument, which is pretty cool. So just as you hear people say things in different ways and everyone has their own way of speaking, and the same thing happens. So they might be both a trombone solo, but they're saying things in a completely different way because they're completely different, which is kind of cool. And one of the powerful things about music is each of us sharing who we are and connecting with others. So we'll just point and we'll just see what happens with our soloists. Tom will probably lead us off and then we'll just kind of go from there. So here's Blues for Will.
Can we give it up one more time for these guys? It's been one awesome night. Can you imagine being anywhere else in this awesome jazz concert? So we're gonna do something real quick. We're gonna take a big group picture of all of you and all of our jazz students with our awesome veterans. So if you guys could just stay there for one moment, and if you guys could come over here.